Welcome to the Stony Brook Schools virtual open house. Today, the main focus will be the academic program, which also includes our college counseling program. My name is Yuri Francis, and I serve as the Director of Enrollment Management. In order for us to get to know our audience better, I'm wondering if you will indulge me. We have a poll for you with 2 questions. And the first question should show up on your screen right about now. Okay, so it looks like most of our attendees are based in Long Island. And then we've got a few from outside Long Island in the greater New York area, and then 1 from out of state. And then for question number 2, okay, so it looks like it's a mixed results here. So some folks that are in the inquiry stage, many that are also in the applicant stage, and then 1 or 2 that are just getting started. Great, I want to thank you for your participation. And now we will move on to the agenda for this event. This evening, you are in for a real treat as 2 of my esteemed colleagues will be presenting. First, you will hear from Sean Riley, our academic dean, and then Christine Liu, our director of college counseling. Later in the program, we will provide you an opportunity to ask questions in order to learn more about the academic program and the college counseling program. My colleague from the admissions office, Sharice Welsh, will be joining me for the application process Q&A. Here are the expectations for this event. By now, you probably have noticed that both your camera and microphone are turned off. This will help our speakers avoid any distractions. During the virtual open house, we do encourage you to type your questions using the Q&A button at the bottom of your screen. We will try to address all of your questions during the panel discussion. But please note that next week we will send out a transcript including all of the questions and answers that came up during the event. The focus of the Q&A session will be the academic program and the college counseling program. In addition, we will also share the recording of this open house. And now I have the pleasure of turning the program over to my colleague, Sean Riley.
Hi, everyone. I'm so glad to have you joining us here today. I'd like to introduce myself real briefly. My name is Sean Riley. I'm the academic dean here at the Stony Brook School. This is I just finished 13 years at Stony Brook. I've been a teacher, I've been a coach, I've been a dorm parent. I've done pretty much everything. And now in my role of academic dean, I oversee the curriculum in particular, and also a lot of the pedagogical practices that we use in the school. So I'm going to start off just by saying that you're going to hear a lot about academic excellence here, a lot about our outcomes, especially when Christine Liu jumps on. But I want to start with what really sets Stony Brook apart. And that's, since 1922, our motto has been character before career. To us, that means that being a person of integrity, being a person who loves others well, is more important than the college you get into, the career success you have, the wealth you amass, or the fame you attract. Our goal is to prepare students to be truly happy and fulfilled in life, to impact those around them positively, and to transform the world for the better. See, we believe that an education is about more than just information. We believe it's about formation. The next generation of students is going to need both virtue, and skill. If you think about it, skill without virtue can be pretty dangerous. We see a lot of really talented people who don't have virtue that are able to use all their skill to do terrible evils in the world. And at the same time, people who have virtue but don't have skill end up being fairly useless. Education should therefore be about becoming the kind of person who loves what is true and good and beautiful, and who's able to do good because they have the character traits needed to flourish in life. So we want to help students become more courageous, more temperate, more just, wiser, more faithful, more hopeful, and more loving. Character education is therefore woven into every aspect of our curriculum, our chapel program, our athletics, our advisory program, and student life. It's our heartbeat. We also believe in training minds. It's important, we think, for students to grapple with the ultimate questions of life. How should we live? What happens after we die? Is there a God? Are we more than just bodies? How can we create a just society? These are the kinds of questions that provoke lots of different answers, and we train kids to be able to critically engage with these questions, to understand and appreciate a variety of viewpoints, and to guide them on their path to finding an answer to them. Of course, we also believe in developing skills, and we particularly focus on those that we think are going to help our students be the next generation of leaders. So they're going to need reasoning, communicating skills. They're going to be able to be creative and design solutions to complex problems. And we know that they're going to need tech skills as well in the 21st century. But for us, all of that is grounded in how can we equip our students to serve the world best? Okay, so how do we do this? We have a robust program, incredibly differentiated for the number of students that we serve. As a small school, we have a huge program. We've got close to 30 AP dual credit and college level classes. Lots of classes that go well beyond the AP. We have 3 math classes above AP calculus. Actually, it's 4 now. And we have an incredible STEM program that's been super, super successful. We have great arts here, huge choir and orchestra that go and win events everywhere. And we do some things that we think are really distinctive of Stony Brook education. The one is bringing together faith and learning. We think that they go hand in hand, that all truth is God's truth. And so we're not afraid of any questions. We're not afraid of any proposed answers. And we also think that our faith is able to guide us and direct us in ways that are important as we go through the learning process. We have a really great liberal arts program focused primarily on critical thinking, the ability to engage in civil discussion with people who disagree with you. So a lot of our classes are discussion-based around what we call a Harkness table. We have a strong writing curriculum. Our students, starting in 7th grade, they have 2 English classes instead of 1. And then throughout the rest of the curriculum, they're writing in every discipline, even in the science classes, sometimes even in math class, because we think that communication and reasoning are really refined in the writing process. We also have a kind of interesting program that's called mini courses, and that's an opportunity where we stop doing our normal classes for a week at a time. We do this 3 times a year. And students are able to engage in project-based interdisciplinary courses. Before COVID, we would be doing a lot of traveling, and we'd be doing a lot of very close work together. So we have to make some adjustments this year, most likely. But it's an exciting opportunity for us to be able to offer the kinds of classes that you would never see in a high school. So if you go to our website, get on the academics page, you'll see a whole list of mini courses that we've offered over the years. And our approach, we have small class sizes. That'll be particularly the case this year, but we normally have about 15 or 16 kids in a class. Because of that, and because our teachers are here 24/7 as a boarding campus, and they're all in, we are able to personalize our instruction in ways that most other schools can't even imagine. We get to know and love each individual kid, know their strengths and their weaknesses, know what their desires are, how they want to grow, how they're best going to be able to make progress in the class, and our teachers are able to provide that kind of support. We believe that technology, educational technology, can be very useful, and so we use it in smart ways, but we don't think that it replaces the human elements. And so we have an approach that uses technology where technology is best, and we really focus on the relational aspect of human interactions and physical presence where possible in the rest of our program. You can read more about our reopening plan, but we have a plan that is going to work whether students are here or not. It's flexible so that students who can't get to campus can stay home. Students that don't feel healthy on a given day or don't feel safe, they can stay home. And those who feel comfortable and can get to campus will be able to come every day, all day. And that's, I think, a really important part to emphasize. Because we have a large campus and a dedicated faculty with small class sizes, we will be able to offer all day, every day school. As long as schools are allowed to be open, we will be open. So I want to talk a little bit about some of the highlights from this past year, and then I'm going to turn it over to Chris Liu to talk about college outcomes. We had a robotics team that placed 10th. It's actually in the world. I said nationally here on the slide, but they had the 10th best robot in the world this past year. Our Ethics Bowl team, which really highlights both our character formation program and our critical thinking and speaking skills that we emphasize so much, have been Long Island champions 3 years in a row. This past year, our teams placed first and second. We've won tons of awards this past year in STEM, in science, in math competitions, in music competitions. Our choir travels all over the place. And we've had students that have won major art awards as well. You may have seen in the news that Stony Brook University's STEM program was trying to 3D print face shields. It's a great thing to support Stony Brook University hospitals. Well, they asked us to join them. They talked to our STEM teachers, and I was on that call as well. They wanted us to kind of become part of their assembly line. Within a few seconds, our STEM teachers had identified a way to dramatically increase production. And so when Stony Brook University delivered 5,000 shields to the hospital, over 4,000 of them were ours, and they had a several-week head start on us because we figured out that laser cutting was better than 3D printing. We were able to use the technology in our STEM lab to pull that off. And then the last thing, this past year we had incredible success with the top schools in the country. So if you look at U.S. News and World Report, you'll see the top 25 schools. 37% of our graduates, individual kids, got into top 25 schools. Over the past several years, we've gotten kids into every single one of the top 25 schools that are on that list. So I'm going to turn it over to Chris now because she's the one that will guide students through this whole process. She's done incredible work with her team to get us to this point, and the future is incredibly bright under her leadership.
Hi, everybody. It is really good to be here with you tonight. I am excited to tell you about our college counseling program. My name is Christine Liu. I am the Director of College Counseling, and this is my 5th year here at the Stony Brook School. So yeah, I'm really excited to tell you about the program. So if you're a little bit like me, I kind of like to learn about things in easy ways. And so the first thing that I want to talk to you about tonight is the philosophy of our counseling program. And I'm going to tell you that we rest on the foundation of these 3 I's. The first is insight, the second is information, and the third is initiative. And I'm just going to touch briefly on these. So the first thing that I want to share with you is about insight. We actually don't just believe that every student is unique. This is really the focus of what we do. As Sean shared with you, we have had some amazing outcomes of the college process, but I don't think that that's actually what we do best. One of the things that we focused on so much is that we really believe that every student is unique. I'm not just a college counselor, but I am also the mother of 3 children. And whenever my children have entered a new school, I've really wanted to know 2 things. I've asked myself, will my child be known and will my child be loved? And I can tell you here at Stony Brook, the answer to both of those questions is a distinct yes. And in the college counseling program, we spend tons of time with the students that we guide through this process because we want to know them. We want to know their stories, and we want to be in a position to be able to communicate every student's story to college as well. The second thing that I want to talk to you about tonight is information. And the information is strictly this. We believe that knowledge is power. There are many, many moving parts to the college application process. And we want to be able to give you good information. We want to be able to give you up-to-date information so that this is a process where you feel like you have all that you need to not only be successful as a student in this process, but confident as well. And finally, the third thing that I want to talk to you about our program is initiative. And the statement is that the student is the driver. And parents, we try to remind parents that it is the student going to college. And in addition to having a successful application process, we also want to be developing life skills. And so we want parents to be coaches and cheerleaders, but we really invest in students so that every student is the driver in this process. I also want to just move on at this point and tell you some other things about our program. These are some distinctives of our college counseling program. I've already talked to you about the fact that we really focus in on each student. We really want to know them because we believe in their uniqueness. One of the things that allows us to do that is that here at the Stony Brook School, students actually take part in something called the Highlands Ability Battery. And this is an assessment that it shows us their strengths, their what motivates them, their strong drivers. Students take this with Mrs. Tejan, who meets with them. She gives us a summary, actually, in the college counseling office of this assessment. And we take all this information in, and it helps guide our process. It is true that we've had strong outcomes, not only this year, but the years preceding as well. But for us, if it was only about getting students into top schools, I feel like we would not do our job well. And so the other focus of our program is actually about fit. And the equation runs something like this. Our knowledge of the student and the student's own knowledge, and then our knowledge of colleges equals fit. We want to put those two things together so that we can put together a list of colleges where each student will not only be successful, but thrive. This year, we had our first college tour here at the Stony Brook School. We visited 11 colleges down south. And while this isn't something we obviously will be doing this fall, we do hope to continue to take students on tours so that they can set foot on college campuses. In lieu of physically going to schools, we are equipping students to take advantage of virtual tours, virtual information sessions this year. And finally, I've already mentioned this as well, but we really pride ourselves in getting timely and current information both to students and to their parents. Mr. Eric Johnson, who is the other college counselor, and I are members of local, state, and national college counseling initiatives and programs. And so we join those things so that we can stay current about what is happening in the college counseling world. So moving on, I just want to go over some of the nuts and bolts of college counseling, what it looks like here year by year. We begin actually the college counseling program in the 10th grade. The reason that we do this is because we really want 9th graders to come in and to be engaged and excited learners. We want them to discover their strengths, their talents and interests. We want them to make friends. We really want them to begin to enjoy high school. By the 10th grade, we will enter into the college conversation and we will hold grade level meetings, parent meetings, and we also sort of take part in advising students in what courses that they should take the following year. In the 11th grade, we continue with these grade level meetings, these parent meetings, and our course advisory, but we will really ramp up our program with individual meetings. We will meet with every student at least twice, and then we invite them to meet with us as they feel that they need to. We also will strongly encourage our juniors and seniors to go on to meet with our college reps who visit Stony Brook. Every year, about 60 to 70 colleges will be here to meet with our students. And then we hold junior college night in the spring. We invite 2 to 3 college admissions counselors to come and to talk about what admissions looks like from the other side of the desk. And finally, as Dr. Riley mentioned, we hold a mini course on personal statement writing, which we encourage juniors to take, and they can take the mini course to get a head start on their college essay. In the 12th grade, we will continue with grade level meetings, the parent meetings, the college rep visits. Our individual meetings will actually begin to hone in on the process itself. We want to make sure that every senior feels good about moving through this process, and we will actually begin to help them fill out the college application. We will also get financial aid information to parents as well. And then in addition to that, we will hold weekend and evening drop-in sessions on an as-needed basis. And so all that to say, in short, we want to make ourselves really available to students so that they feel really good about this process and confidently get through the application process. So that's actually the overview of the college counseling program. It is highly individualized because we know that your child is important to you, and so we want to make them important to us. And so we have many touch points with our students in order to get to know them well. We hope that it is highly empowering. We want to get information and instill a sense of confidence through this process. And finally, I will say that it is highly successful, not just because of our outcomes in college admissions, but because we really believe that it's a process that can really build students' self-confidence and give them really strong life skills. So that's it for the college counseling program. And yeah, really good to be here with you tonight.
All right, wonderful. Thank you, Chris. All right, as we turn our attention to the Q&A session, just a reminder that you can type your questions using the Q&A button at the bottom of your screen. Before we start answering questions, though, I just wanted to take a moment to address a major topic that I believe may be on your minds. That topic is COVID-19 and how it may impact the opening of school and as well as the start of the school year. Last week, Thursday, our head of school, along with members of the Reopening Planning Committee, hosted a town hall meeting to address the Stony Brook School's plans for reopening school. If you are interested in receiving the recording of the town hall, please send us an email to admissions@sbs.org. And also, I encourage you to take a look at the section of our website that addresses the reopening plan. And my colleague will type the URL into the chat feature at the bottom of your screen, along with the email for the admissions office. During this panel discussion, we plan to focus on questions pertaining to the academic program and the college counseling program. Okay, so. All right, so there was a question, do students graduate with a degree? And yes, that would, the short answer is yes. The students graduate Stony Brook School with a high school diploma.
I see a question about how many students we have in total in the high school. So our total population is 412. That's at least what it was last year. And out of that, about 340 or so were 9th through 12th graders. Is that about right?
Yeah, you figure if there were 35 8th graders and maybe 25, so minus 60. So yeah, maybe
350.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What is the deadline for the application for a 10th grade student? So really, at this point, we're in our rolling admission season. And so there really are no more deadlines. We just encourage applicants and families to try to complete the process as quickly as possible. We open school on August 31st. And so we would like to at least have all of our students enrolled at least maybe a week or two before that date. Do you have a sense of what percentage of your student body is returning for the upcoming school year? Yeah, I mean, I think it's a very high percentage. Say probably 90% perhaps are probably returning. So part of the application process, it asks for letters of recommendation for math, English, and counselor. We are having trouble getting this with school being off for the summer and also due to COVID-19. How critical is it to have all of these? We were able to get letters of recommendation from other teachers, from other subject areas. Can these be substituted? Yes, I mean, I think it's important to note that the admissions office is trying to be as flexible as possible during this admission cycle, which is highly unusual and unique due to COVID-19. And so we are working with families to kind of meet you where you're at. And so if you are having difficulty acquiring certain parts of the application, whether it's teacher recommendations or transcripts, yeah, we will try to be flexible and help you out.
It's a question about how to prepare a 6th grader for enrollment as a 7th grader for next year. I would say make sure that your student is reading a lot and writing a lot and playing a lot, and also learning some of the skills of being organized and learning how to do some have them do some chores around the house, have them do some selfless things that'll help them get ready for the character education that we're preaching here. So I would say read, and serve. Those would be the things to do as a 6th grader, and enjoy life while you're young.
There was a question about, do you accept the TAHCS test? And so we, it's not required. We are actually going to be test optional for the SSAT, the IC, the PSAT, the ACT, and SAT until for the rest of this admission cycle. So what does that mean? It means that anyone who's applying for entry for 2020, it's really optional whether you have to take the SSAT or other standardized tests. And I'll address that in more detail when I talk about the application process.
I see a question about what kind of extra help is offered at the high school. It's really multifaceted. So the first line of defense would always be the teacher of the class, and that teacher will have 2 office hours periods per week. Plus, like I said, our teachers are here on a boarding campus, so they're pretty much on all the time. So anytime that you need to reach them, as long as it's not during, the wee hours of the night, they're going to be available to the student. Beyond that, every student receives an advisor. So there's at least one adult on campus whose sole job it is in that role to know and love your student and to understand the 360 picture of that student. So they're there to help recognize when there might be challenges across multiple areas and to help them connect with the support networks that they need. We also have about 10% of our students receiving learning services. So those are opportunities to learn how to learn and to learn how to learn with whatever particular challenges you may face as a learner. So there's a ton of support here. We have the ability to make it possible for any kid that really wants to and is willing to put in the work to be successful.
And there's a question about, is there a financial assistance program available for admissions? Yes, we do offer need-based financial aid. So it's really focused on the family's financial situation and not, we don't offer merit-based aid. And I will again talk about that later in the program. What is the ratio of students who stay on campus versus the day students? So we're about 50-50 boarding and day. And there's a question, we replied already, how long does it take to receive a decision? Once a file is complete, typically it takes probably within 48 hours, we should be able to deliver a decision to the family. And how many students are currently enrolled in your new online program? Sean, do you want to tackle that question?
Yeah, we're still in the early stages there, so we have some, but we really just started marketing, so we don't have a good sense yet of how large it's going to be.
And next is, what is the student-teacher ratio, and what is the largest class size? Sean, you want to tackle that?
Yeah, there's a lot of different ways to answer this because how do you count faculty is always a question because we have so many residential faculty, we have so many student-facing administrators. So somewhere in the 7 to 8 to 1 range for student-teacher ratio. Normally our classes have 15 or 16 in them. The largest class would be choir that has about 60 in it, but that's a bit of an outlier. The largest normal class would be around 20. And we try to only do that in classes that aren't discussion-based. So discussion-based classes, we try to keep them around 16 or less, and usually they are. Does the school have any leadership class? We have leadership mini courses, and we also have a huge student leadership program. So the best way to learn leadership is by actually doing it. And so there are ways to begin the leadership program by starting on a council and serving, and then working your way up into a leadership position. And then we have a person here on the staff who's one of the major roles that she plays is to run the whole leadership program. And so there's a ton of training that goes through that program.
All right. And are you offering tours of the school during the summer? Our campus is closed at this time to visitors, but we are offering tours on a very limited basis. We are also working on a virtual tour that should be available within the next perhaps 2 to 3 weeks or so. So be on the lookout. Once it is available, we will send out a message to all of our prospective families as well as enrolled families to highlight that the virtual tours is available. All right, so I want to thank you again for all of your questions. And as I mentioned earlier, yeah, we will send out a transcript next week where we will provide answers to all the questions just in case you missed out. And next, I will talk a little bit about the admissions process. Please note that there is a lot of detail on this page if you go to the SBS website. The first step of the process is to complete the online inquiry form, which will enable the admissions office to stay in touch and keep you abreast of what's going on at SBS. Next up is the application, which includes a biographic profile, parent statement, and student essays. All applicants are required to interview, and all interviews are now being conducted via Zoom and Skype. In terms of testing, which I mentioned, the SSAT is now optional along with similar tests like the IC, PSAT, ACT, and SAT. However, if you are an international student, we still do require the TOEFL or some equivalent of the TOEFL. We also require a math and English teacher recommendation along with the completion of the principal guidance counselor form. Any administrator at the school that knows your child well can complete this form. And applicants should also submit their transcript for the most recent school year along with the 2 previous school years. For those families that may require financial aid, parents will complete a financial aid application and submit financial documents to TADS, and that's spelled TADS. TADS will assess the family's financial need based on the information provided and send a report to the admissions office. And now we will move on to next steps. If you haven't done so yet, we encourage you to complete the inquiry form, and my colleague will type the URL for you, and you should be able to see it in the chat feature at the bottom of your screen. We want to help you navigate this process and learn more about SBS. And in order to stay in touch, please email our office at admissions@sbs.org. At the conclusion of this event, you will receive a survey, and we hope that you will take a few minutes to share your feedback. And don't forget to check out our social media channels. Next week, Thursday, we have another exciting event planned for you featuring our athletics program. You can register right now by clicking on the link in the chat feature at the bottom of your screen. And next week's virtual open house will take place at the same time. We hope that you will join us. I want to thank our audience along with our presenters for your participation this evening. At this time, we will take a few minutes to answer questions about the application process. And I do realize that we probably answered many of those already, but if there are others, we'll certainly take a few minutes. And I will be joined by our Associate Director of Admissions and Financial Aid, Sharice Welch.
Hello, everyone. As was just shared, many of the questions that were pertaining to the application process have been answered. There is one that actually I hold the responsibility for in the office, so I will go ahead and answer that question, and it pertains to the I-20 for, will our school issue an I-20 for students requiring a visa? This particular question is asking about a student who has an F2 visa. And so for an F2, they don't actually need an I-20, but we do provide I-20s for all F1 visa holders. So for any student who is an F1 student or who would be applying as an F1 student, then yes, we will go ahead and be able to issue that I-20. I'll just wait a few extra minutes and see if any other questions make it into the Q&A. But again, I think we've done a great job tonight of answering a majority of those questions. Well, Mr. Francis.
Yeah, so no, again, thank you for joining us this evening, and we look forward to connecting with you next week, Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Enjoy the rest of your evening or day, and God bless you.